So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Yun Lu. Thank you for joining the weekly educational talks on Thursday at 3 p.m. The talks are organized by Kappa HC, Chinese American Parent Association of Howard County. And this event is sponsored by COAD, Howard County Community of Nations Active in Disaster. So today, Mr. Li Hangshell will present Cybersecurity, Lessons and Careers. Mr. Li is the Director of 5G Operations at the Pentagon in Office of Secretary of Defense, former Senior Advisor to Department of Defense, Homeland Security, National Security Council, and White House staff. So let's welcome Li for presenting cybersecurity. Thank you, Li. So I will put you on the spotlight video if you want to show your video, or you can share your screen since I already assigned you as a co-host.
Yeah, sure, that would be great. We can definitely go through some quick slides. I don't want to bore everybody too much, but the biggest thing is to offer time for questions and anything relating to what the students are interested in. So yeah, what I will do is let me share a screen here real quick. Okay. Let's see. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
I can see it says, oh yeah, now I can see your screen, yes.
Great. So again, everybody, thank you for taking the time, and I hope that this can be an informative session for all of you. I'll try to be brief and just give the details to the different things that I'm running around to do and the different experiences that I'm able to gain from the different opportunities and positions that I've run. So first of all, again, so currently I'm in the Pentagon serving, and it's a very interesting program because we're looking at the big operations of cybersecurity and 5G. There's a large component to this because it is a very popular and wanted topic within industry, commercial private industry, and all the way down to residentials and the use for regular citizens like ourselves, right? Just a quick note, if any of you have ever visited the Pentagon, if you had a chance to, it's an extremely large building. There are times that I'm running around where it'll make me sweat because it's like a workout, right? Getting around the different areas, the different corridors and offices. But as you can see in the facts here, you know, it's over 6 million square feet. Okay. There's about 3,700,000 square foot of office space, and throughout normal days, right? And this is excluding current times with the pandemic, but you know, we have about anywhere between 20 to 15,000 military and civilian members going in and out, and then maxing out anywhere between 23,000. On top of that number, we have about 3,000 non-defense support personnel. That includes like our amazing cooks and cleaning staff, you know, construction workers, etc., that are, you know, continuously updating and remodeling and upkeeping the facility. So lots of cool things there. If any of you have ever visited, maybe one day we can work through Dr. Yoon and Dr. Liu, and we can maybe even try to coordinate a visit one day. I'd love to take you guys in there and show you guys around and show you some of the cool things, because this is by far one of the coolest buildings within the federal government, DoD itself, Department of Defense. The other buildings that I've worked in have some aspects, but there's a lot of history in the Pentagon to include all the different wars, from Vietnam War, you know, World War II, World War I. I mean, different sections of corridors and areas have small sections of history for people to look at. So it's not just a workspace, but it's also a very historical location to be able to see some cool items that relate to our history here within the decade and on. So again, one day we'll try to make some time and maybe we can take a visit. Moving forward. So what I wanted to do was just go over some things about cybersecurity, information systems, computer science, etc., and how this can be a very interesting topic of study for a lot of you young students and soon-to-be college students to pursue and have an opportunity to work in. This is a very, very robust and continuously evolving environment. A lot of you are utilizing cyber on a daily basis, hourly basis, right? Everything from social media to controlling your AC at home and connecting to your smart TV and tablets and devices. I mean, without this, none of that would be happening. And many of us can remember when those things weren't available, right? When there was dial up and you hear the phone, the phone line ring before you catch the internet. Well, nowadays we don't have that, and it's a very different environment that things we get into. So what I want to show you here are things that we're going to go over very briefly. A lot of you may know some of these things, but what I want to do is structure for you so that you get a better perspective on the different ways of you can get involved with cyber and how it involved in the cyber security and all the different aspects of it. So we've got obviously the internet, the cyber domain, cyber security, cyber threat landscape, cyber resilience, cyber physical systems, okay? And jumping straight in, without boring you guys too much, the internet was created many, many, many decades ago when it was originally designed for ARPANET, designed by DoD. And the Department of Defense wanted a way to get through a single network using packet switching to basically connect us within DoD. It continuously evolved. Scientists like Mr. Robert Kahn and many other important individuals that looked at transmission control protocol and internet protocol and TCP/IP were able to make the connections work between different networks. And to make a very long story short, these gentlemen are very important, and they did a lot of great things to expand their capability to get what we would call the internet. Later down the line, the commercial industry hopped on. There were a lot of business dealings going on with this, and the internet essentially was released from DoD and now utilized for private industry and public sector and for us to use. One of the coolest things that we can say is the increase, right? All of you guys are a part of this. We're a part of this. This is just a short record from the 90s down to 2014, 15 area. I mean, as you can tell, it basically, what would you say, 300%, 400% times fold by that time frame. And now, I mean, the connections are endless. There is just an insane amount of users within the internet, and now the world cannot evolve. I apologize, cannot survive, and we have to continuously evolve in order to make business happen, education, etc. Many of you, as you're aware, you're utilizing Zoom and many other online software to get your education, and I'm sure Dr. Liu as well probably uses a lot of online video conferences and stuff to coordinate with her staff and her professional field. So again, very important to go through. So we're going to get into the little bit topic of domain, right? And the big question is what is a domain? And can anybody answer that for me? Just to kind of get a little bit of answers back. Can anybody tell me what you think a domain is?
You can put your answer in the chat if you want, or you can unmute yourself. Either way will be fine.
Okay, it's all right. It's really okay to be shy. Again, I'm just asking questions because I like to see if anybody wants to speak out and give some answers and comments, right? This is not just me talking the whole time. I want to try to get some feedback. But basically, a domain is a territory governed by a single ruler or government, right? Within our DoD government space, oh, somebody chatted here. Let's see. Yep. The X values. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Okay. The reference to cyber and the space is what we call the domain, right? Sea, air, land, space. And the objective here, looking at the different definitions and aspects of domain, it's basically for us is a realm of range of personal knowledge and responsibility, right? In which there can be a superior title or absolute ownership, right? And this can tie into many different ways with different types of definitions to include X, right? But in computers, it's a network that is administered by a unit of common rules and procedures, right? And within the internet, domains are defined by the IP address. And to give you a little bit more visual picture to make it easier, Okay, cyberspace is something that we call a domain now. It is a very big component, like I stated, right? We're using electromagnetic spectrum, store, modify, exchange data, right? Every day you're exchanging data by utilizing the cyberspace domain. And with that, it connects us, right? What we call IoTs, Internet of Things, right? Smart devices, etc. And it allows us to continuously coordinate and have a cyber contact amongst each other. And cyberspace is across all domains. That's the really cool part is between air, land, sea, right? As you can see in this picture, right? Many decades ago, space was a domain, but the fact that cyberspace, right, where we're all connected between satellites, land, air, ships, all that, it's all included. And now we consider cyberspace a major domain, a major component to our reach. And it's definitely one of those invisible domains that we cannot see. And unlike land and earth, uh, cyberspace is infinite, right? Almost characterized as like outer space. So it's a very broad and infinite amount of space that we can utilize. So going into cybersecurity, okay, here's some things I wanted to look at, right? It's referred information technology security, and basically, make a very long story short, all of you actually are performing cybersecurity throughout the day. That includes, putting in passwords for your email and making sure that you log out properly, right? Those are some components that you can do, and cybersecurity ties into the physical aspect as well, because, like I said earlier, air, land, sea, everything, right? If you're looking at a physical cyberspace domain, right, you want to make sure that number one, your doors are physically locked. But then if you're controlling your doors with some of these ring apps and that allow you to unlock and lock your door, well, there's a part of a cyberspace and cybersecurity responsibility there within those programs and those devices. So it all ties in together, and there's a lot of different components to it. And again, I really don't want to try to bore you with all this, but you got the applications, you got information security, the network security, and disaster recovery. All these are different elements of cybersecurity, right? You've got the software and the applications, the hardwares. You've got the information security, which is strategies to manage processes and tools. Network security, which involves taking physical and software presented measures to protect the network's infrastructure. Ensuring that nobody's tapping into your network and either what we would call steal your Wi-Fi capability or steal data that's coming through. Whether you're checking your email online, whether you're checking your online bank statements, etc. Right? And lastly, disaster recovery, which means that when a cyber incident occurs, if you get hacked or you get your data stolen, then you're able to react to that disaster event, which in nowadays is very it's very popping in a way, right? We hear about companies and individuals getting hacked all the time. I'm sure you've seen people that either get their Twitter account or their Facebook account stolen and they start sending weird messages, right? Again, and then there's ways to obviously recover your password and and reactivate your account so that you can properly secure the account and ensure that no one's utilizing your accounts without your knowledge. So going into elements of cybersecurity, you've got the business continuity, you've got operational security, and you get the end user education. These are all different components and elements that tie into cybersecurity. And to really simply put it, without going into all these technical vocabulary questions or vocabulary definitions, it's the ultimate goal of trying to protect everything you utilize in cyber. Okay. So again, for a lot of you students, it's going to be relating to, again, your email, your social media accounts. Maybe you have a bank account where you're checking your balances per day, how much money you're utilizing and how much you're gaining, right? If some of you work, you're going to basically check online for tax documents and again, more bank statements and ensuring that you're paying your bills. And the ways of protecting that is a part of big element of cybersecurity. What we're doing today right now is actually kind of an end user education, right? I'm kind of teaching you about cybersecurity, which is the bottom bullet here, and the education of a person to whom a hardware software product is designed, right? So essentially, I'm not teaching you about a specific program, but just discussing the elements of cybersecurity. So you're today receiving an end user education. Now we have something called a CIA triad, which again is we're not talking about Central Intelligence Agency. However, they do utilize this as a baseline for cyber, and it's a model designed to basically define how and what we are approaching from within an organization, right? So the three things: CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality, basically keep things private. Integrity, make sure the information is accurate and reliable. And lastly, availability, you're able to access it when you want to. So these three items are kind of the pillars of protecting data, and the CIA triad is a basic knowledge asset for cybersecurity. The Again, confidentiality, again, you want to make sure that no one's stealing the info, and making sure that it's, is physically protected. Then with the triad, you have the physical security, where physical barriers limit access to systems. That's like not being able to go into certain data rooms, or certain areas that may require you to get access to private information, which again, it will be protected. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of encryption, which is the access to secret key or passwords and label to decrypt it. Access control, only allowing certain individuals to get in access. Good example, Bank of America, in their ATM machines near their banks, want you to use their debit card to scan the card, and before you get in access to the building, to go get access to the ATM, right? Certain ATMs outside have cameras and etc., which is also part of an access control, and also a physical security. Authentications, authorizations, going really deep into all the different types of measures that define this. Integrity, again, you got the backups, you got the accurate and reliable information protection. Checksums is a more of a technical word for correct digits and pieces of transmitted data. That's a whole nother conversation which we can have next time. And availability, you want to be able to access your data, right? As a person that's working in cybersecurity, what your job will be is to ensure that people can access information when they want to, right? The worst case, a good example, I guess, I've heard some of my college students tell me, oh, when I'm playing Call of Duty, Battle.net network shuts down and I can't get access to the game, right? Now, granted, that's not private information, more of an access to a cyber platform to enjoy yourself playing a game, but those things happen, and when those availability situations are gone down, it's more than annoying, and then you're thinking, hey, well, I spend money to be able to do this, and you're not able to give me access, right? Same thing with internet, right? Whether it's Comcast or Verizon, when the internet goes down, there's nothing more annoying than that. And again, that's going to be Verizon and their responsibility to make sure that there's availability for you to access the internet when you want to. Physical protection also includes availability, right? Protecting the systems in order to make it available when there are challenges to face. And then lastly, backup systems, storage devices that will basically activate if there's an emergency where you're not able to get access. So this is where it gets kind of cool. And these are the things I really wanted to go over, right? There's a big cyber threat landscape. To really narrow it down to the scope, you got typical hackers, state-sponsored, which is basically controlled by a certain country government. That's kind of the easiest way to put it. Terrorist groups, and then organized crime, right? So let's talk about typical hackers, right? And these are the main things that they're looking at to really assess their reasons why they're doing this, right? They want to get stuff, get noticed, steal money, right? I'm sure you guys heard of Bitcoin, where a lot of people were trying to steal Bitcoin off of others by using scams. That's one way. Sometimes it's revenge. They're mad at somebody and just want to destroy that network or system and ensure that no one can benefit from it. Political ideology, reasonings, and then of course hacktivism, right? So again, you'll see people hack highway traffic signs, right? They'll steal credit card information, and disgruntled employees will try to do a lot of these different things to include defacing websites, right? Nothing worse than going to, like I said, like let's say a bank, right? Bank of America, and they say, hi, welcome, this bank is no longer in service, right? They get some sort of weird added on there and then scare people that their bank's been shut down, right? So this is a typical hacker and their motivation. More importantly, let's talk about state-sponsored motivations, right? There's a lot of different ways and a lot of different groups. A good example, North Korea has a very strong state-sponsored motivation for hacking, military, intellectual property, financial, and these state-sponsored areas to include strong countries like Russia as well. They are creating what we call advanced persistent threats, which we'll talk about here in a second. But they are essentially incredible virus type programs that are designed to continuously steal data throughout, and almost impossible to detect or delete. And it takes a lot of cyber members in order to try to, to figure out this problem. So going forward with APTs, again, advanced persistent threats. These programs, think of it as like a bug get into your system, and they allow unauthorized people to gain access for a long period of time. Intentions of APTs to attack, steal data rather than to cause damage. Again, this is designed to steal data, right? It's not just destruction. They want to utilize this type of bug to really infiltrate into the deepest secrets of a company, government organizations, or even your system, right? They could be watching you the whole time and seeing what you're accessing to steal your data. Maybe get access to your bank account, watching you, key log, right? Typing your passwords into your bank account, they're watching it, and then they want to get into themselves, right? So APTs are very dangerous. These are some high-level APTs that were around back in the day. I mean, we don't have to go through all of them, but basically there were a lot of different types of APTs that really just affected a lot of individuals. GhostNet, this was a big deal. Cyber espionage operation, 2009, and compromised 100 different countries, stealing information. I mean, just incredibly advanced and very hard to detect at the time. Other ones are Stuxnet. This was a type of a program that deployed and set themselves in stone like a virus. And even though that it may trickle out slow information, it was able to get a lot of different types of information from different algorithms-based programming logic controllers, and really just hurt a lot of industrial infrastructure. This was damaging, for everything from electrical companies all the way down to manufacturing and so on forth. So very dangerous types of APTs here. And I'm going to go ahead and skip over this, right? All of you have heard of this, different types of cyber attacks, web application attacks, malware, application-specific attacks, DDoS, and reconnaissance. And just to kind of go through a lot of these very quickly, web application, again, just to basically destroy the actual website itself, and making it unaccessible to individuals that want to access it. So again, another example, you want to watch a movie at Regal, and then Regal's website gets SQL injected, and now you can't even see what they're trying to sell. And it's not only going to hurt the viewers who want to figure out what movie they should go watch, but it hurts the company drastically because now they can't sell their tickets online because of web application attacks. Another one is malware, right? All of you guys have seen this, where you may have clicked on something that you shouldn't have clicked on, right? Whether it's an unknown email, etc. And you get all these things popping up in your computer, right? Again, that's malware, right? You got adware, you got bots, you got ransomware who want to lock you out of your system and request money from you so that they can gain for profit, right? These types also include rootkits, which is a malicious software. This is a very sophisticated type of malware. And of course, spyware, being quiet, not saying anything, just watching you from the background. And lastly, Trojan horses, which is one of the biggest disguised programs that will infect and gain remote access to your computer. And then it will continue to spread to other systems if able to. And again, they're also able to screen watch, key logging, and steal your login information for financial data, etc. I'm going to skip some of these here. Again, a lot of you have heard viruses and worms, spam, etc. Let's go into application-specific attacks. Again, these are designed for applications, packet sniffing. It's a very complicated process for application-specific attacks. They're basically targeting specific things on your computer. But without getting too detailed, it's a very successful approach, and it finds a lot of vulnerabilities in specific applications. DDoS, denial of service, where hacker overloads or crashes a server within a multitude of requests. This is quite often. It does happen a lot. And with the distribution of denial of service, they conduct in a very large base where botnets are activated. And botnets are basically programmed softwares that are out there designed to basically multiply in millions and possibly billions. So then last year we got the reconnaissance attacks were passive and active. Basically, I mean, you can see on here, but you know, it's either you're looking quietly to look for information, or when a hacker does engage with victim system and try to get money out of you and steal your data. So before we get into discussions of career salaries and etc., cybersecurity and cyberspace as a whole, it's a innovative and continuously growing field, right? I've had my mentorees from, let me take a step back. So I currently also teach over at the Naval Academy. I work with University of Maryland, Baltimore, and I also work with Johns Hopkins. And I'm teaching and mentoring a lot of students within the cyberspace domain and cybersecurity and the intelligence field, cyber intelligence field. There are so many different ways of you getting involved in cybersecurity at a young age, and the fact that many of you are into computers and IoT devices and technology, this is a career field that will continue to expand and develop and offer many different types of positions throughout. Where even as I went into the military first through the Air Force, and I was in intelligence. Got hooked on signals intelligence, and then got more hooked on into cyberspace and pursued cyber degrees and etc. It continues to expand. And as I had an opportunity to work with cyber and cybersecurity and cyber policies, it shifted the diagram into 5G, because 5G is a big component of cyberspace, right? It's going to change the way we access IoT devices and many other aspects of daily life. And so 5G came from a big component of telecom and communication networks in order for cyberspace to be successful. Before I get into the salary discussions and all the I guess important things of being a cyber analyst, are there any questions about current cyberspace and cybersecurity?
Lee, I saw that there is a question in the chat box.
Sure, let me see if I can get access to that. For some reason, it's not showing. Oh, there it is. Let's see here. Yes, yeah, so these things happen, right? And again, Disney is not going to tell us exactly how it happened, right? Just like many other companies that do get hacked, the unfortunate situation is unless these companies are exposed by media or even dependent upon the Justice Department, the FBI, a lot of times we don't know about it until last second. And you find out usually after it happened, and then they tell you, hey, Dr. Liu, we're going to offer you 2 years of free credit check support because we think your information was stolen, right? And it's just not a very fun thing to find out. And again, I'm sure these individuals that had their Disney Plus password stolen, now it's definitely not cool, right? Luckily, these individuals can go online and change the password to a much more secure password, and hopefully it won't happen again. But again, who knows how this happened, right? There can be multitudes of ways of hackers or state-sponsored hackers getting into these systems to play around. Now, granted, most state-sponsored hackers probably really could care less about hacking Disney Plus, right? Again, those are like, the Russian, Iranian hackers working for the government. They could really care less about that. So most likely it was some sort of a hacktivist that wanted to get in and just, make a statement. But yeah, these things do happen a lot. So thank you for asking about that. And if there are any other questions, I'd like to answer for you before we get moving along.
So if you have any questions, you can type in the chat or unmute yourself and ask directly. Okay, I see another question. How stressful a job is a cybersecurity analyst?
So, it's like any other job, right? A lot of you that get into cybersecurity a good example, University of Maryland, Baltimore, UMUC, which I think they call Global Campus now. They all have great cyber programs. And the biggest thing is how much knowledge do you gain before you go into your job, right? As I worked as an analyst many, many years ago for cyber and SIGINT and many other platforms of intelligence sharing, um, because I understood the component of the job and had the right education and the training, it didn't get, I guess, stressful. I really enjoyed my job, and even now with my new job, working as as the operations director, there are things that prepare me throughout my different careers that allow me to obtain the position in order for me to do my job. And stressful things can be when things don't go well, right? It can be when things are overwhelming, but at the same time, it really is able to be limited, basically allowing you to control the stress because you're able to self-educate and get better understandings of the analyst position, etc. So uh, I honestly don't think it's super stressful. And a lot of the people that I meet that are in cyber, they really enjoy their job. I rarely hear somebody that's in IT, computer science, other than some frustrations, right? Software engineers, which is a different part of cyber, right? Because now they're really developing software. Those guys have a pretty tough job because they have to really be straight to the dot on everything that they're creating software for. But as a cybersecurity analyst, I don't think you'd be stressed at all. I think you would enjoy the job and see the cool things that you were able to do with the capability. And I'll move to the next question here. What are some carriers that can be followed through in cybersecurity in the MD National Guard?
Lee, do you want to cancel the share screen so I can put you on the spotlight video so they can see you?
Oh, sure. I'll stop the share for a second here. Yeah, there we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I guess if you could rephrase that question for me, what are some carriers that can be followed through cybersecurity in the national? I'm trying to get a better understanding. Oh, careers. I'm sorry, careers. So honestly, I'm not too sure what National Guard can offer. I know that they have different programs for different units. Specific for the military, however, relating to, right? And I mean, the National Guard is one thing, that you have the direct active duty and reservists. They have many different careers for cybersecurity. And I've helped many individuals go into either enlisted or officer programs for cyber. And one of the great things about the military service is that you get a lot of free education. I myself, I have technically 4 degrees, and I didn't pay any money for my education for cyber and cybersecurity and my MBA and policy. So it's a great way to start off a career from a deep end perspective, because when you go into the military at a young age, you are basically taught at a very quick level to become a military personnel in order to perform these duties. So you grow up pretty quickly getting to a job field like this, and having the military give you that education and the background and then experience to move out and become a civilian like I did and work in private industry. I mean, there's some fantastic opportunities. Cybersecurity is a major component of all branches, to include the National Guard. To be specific on specifically what career it is, or what the title will be called for the National Guard, I'm not too sure. That's something that we can probably research together. But the military services are always recruiting new members to join. And in the past 3 years or so, I've probably sent close to 20 plus members to serve in the armed forces for cybersecurity and information systems. So definitely a great way to get your foot in the door and get your top secret clearance so you can do some really cool stuff. And to say that you can't tell anybody is kind of a cool thing. I'm sure a lot of you guys will enjoy. So last but not least here, let's see. How can we start being involved in this field, any specific coding language or programs? Yeah, so to get involved, having some baselines of like C++ and A+, from grade school is a great thing, right? The 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 most important part, I think, is keeping your grades up, right? I tell my grade school students all the time, oh, I want to get into cybersecurity, I want to do that, I want to do that, and I'm only interested in computer science. That's great, right? I applaud you for being interested in that field and to push forward to that way. However, in order for you to, obviously go to a good university and obtain a background in cybersecurity, because that's where you're going to learn a lot of your component items. Uh, you need to be able to make sure that you're keeping up your grades, right? Obviously, straight A's and focusing on the other subjects as well, right? Uh, for a good example is my brother, right? My little brother, he's a lead engineer for cybersecurity, but he was the worst guy in math ever. He just could never do math well. And then uh, it kind of taught him a lesson, because he realized that he was only doing what he was interested in. So that's definitely not a good trait to carry when you're in grade school. So as long as you are looking into basic computer science classes through grade school, again, I know certain schools have like A plus and C plus classes that they offer. There are extracurricular locations that you could go to for these other types of cyber IT training. And then when you get to college, you pick that topic to really get involved into that study, because once you're in university level, you're going to be really involved, right? Whether it's cybersecurity with different types of certifications, whether it's security plus, ethical hacking, CISSP. There's lots of different certification that you can pursue while you're in college to get more background in cybersecurity. And some examples of jobs in military related to cybersecurity. Yeah, I mean, we have cyber analysts. We've got intel analysts who are engaged in cyber fusion, fusion analysts that are involved in sharing intel with cyber. I mean, the list goes on. And then we also have network engineers within the military. We have security officers who are supporting the protection of information systems. I mean, there's again, and by the way, every branch calls it something differently, right? The Air Force has a name for one thing, the Army has a different name for one thing, but and again, by the way, this is also accessible online, but there are many different ways to approach from a military training and education perspective in order to get into cybersecurity. Any other questions I can answer for anybody? Okay, so real quick, here's the cool part now, and this is what I wanted to share with you guys, because I think this will definitely perk your interest as well. So like I said, I sent a lot of students that went out from high school, whether it was to military or to the military academy or coming straight out, right? So a good example is I had a student that joined the military when she was 18, and she went into a cyber program for the Air Force. Uh, she came out after 4 years of service, getting her top secret clearance. The Air Force paid for her bachelor's degree in computer science, and her first job when she came out was a basically $110,000 job at age 23. Right, not bad for someone starting out in their early career field to make $100,000 a year. And to put that in perspective, that's basically, essentially, let's just say, 9, 10,000 a month, right, before taxes, right? And this is the favorite discussion that my college students and I have, because they want to know, right? Hey, what kind of money can I make if I go into this field, right? Is it worth my investment? And my answer is absolutely, because this is entry level pay scales, right? Between two websites that give you some information. And I will tell you that this is actually incorrect, because this is actually lower, right? A lot of the cyber analysts that I have an opportunity to hire, or people that I interview for positions, or mentorees that I help pursue in career in this type of field, they make 80, 90,000 very easily. And then if you have government training or military experience with this type of field, they pay you more, because now they know that you're educated, you're respectful, you're honorable discharge, you got a college degree. I mean, everything just adds up very quickly. So it becomes a really quick a bargaining number game at a certain point when you get into this field. And I know individuals that are working in private industry. I've got a good friend who's what we call a CISO, with Chief Information Security Officer, and I think he's like 34 or 33. Again, younger than me, obviously, and very well experienced in cyber, and they're paying him, and I mean, well over 300 plus thousand a year, right? I mean, that's like getting a $30,000 check before taxes. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So, if you have an interest in IT and cybersecurity, knowing the fact that you're doing these things every day, it's a great field to get into early because it's continuously growing. We are the private industry, the government field. I mean, we are extremely undermanned. So we're always looking for new people to join the cybersecurity field. And again, based on these salaries after college, making 80, 90, $100,000 a year, uh, I I would think that it would be a fantastic way to start saving some money and do some fun stuff. So this is one of the things I always share because it really shows you the value of getting into technology, right? And let's specifically say, right, even if it's not specifically cybersecurity, but you're going into some sort of STEM field, right, and to include, engineering, mechanical engineering, a lot of these different areas of engineering now utilize cyber, right, utilize information systems, utilizing cyberspace and ensuring that they're performing proper cybersecurity best practices. So you're going to hit this some way or another. But then if you're pursuing directly to cybersecurity and seeing the pay scale, I'm sure you might even have a bigger interest now because I'm sure a lot of you wouldn't mind making $8,000, $9,000 a month after you come out of college, right? So that was my last slide. I'm going to jump out of this. Are there any other questions that I can answer for anybody here? Okay. Dr. Liu, I think that's it. And if any other students have any questions and you want to reach out to me personally, please talk to Dr. Liu. I'm sure you can connect us. I'm sure she and I will continue to chat because there's a lot of things that I teach. But I hope that this was a educational moment, and I hope I didn't bore you too much. And if I did, I'm really sorry. I was trying to make it interesting for you.
Thank you so much for the great talk.
No problem. No problem. And thank you so much, Dr. Liu, for setting this up.
And thank you for serving our country. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And everybody have a great day. Oh,
Thank you.
yes, Jean. Thank you, Jean. Yep, great to see you, Jean. Yes, thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.